this year, so 2 seconds. And then I think DJ Moore is what I overlooked when I looked at it the first time. I kind of expected a lot of draft picks for that number 1 and didn't really look at the DJ Moore thing. I text a friend of mine tweet that Rev. I text him and I was like, "What? The drop to 9?" I was like, "You're missing out on all the top tier defenders then." And then I saw DJ Moore and I'm like, "Okay, so now you get Fields a weapon." And you still get that 9th pick, and you get another pick next year, and you get an early 2nd-round pick. And so I'm with you at this point, Nick. My initial reaction to it, I was wrong. I think they absolutely fleeced Carolina in this thing for what's going to turn into one quarterback, Bryce Young, whoever it is they take. What do you think, Rev?
Yeah, I'm probably with both of y'all. First off, I knew somebody was coming for the Bears pick. I knew that the Bears were pretty much settled in on Justin Fields, and we had talked about that before previously on the show. Are you sold on Justin Fields? And of course, I made the comment, man, if you're sold on him, if he's your guy, then you need to drop out of that pick. You need to trade back, get multiple picks. I just would have never dreamed that they would have got so many picks and a fantastic wide receiver. And so, looking at the trade, you kind of look at who won the trade. As of right now, it looks like the Bears won the trade. But I will say this: if there is a franchise quarterback at the top of the draft, and he is your gem, he is your guy, your franchise future,
whatever it takes
that you want to get into. Whatever it takes, you go up there and you grab them, because it seems like the Panthers haven't had a quarterback since Cam Newton was there, and Cam Newton was healthy and mentally healthy. And so, I think the question is, who they go up to get, who are they after, and that might be the next thought process to go into the whole thing.
Right. Before we do that, though, let's talk about DJ Moore. And I remember there were rumors. I don't know if you guys remembered. In the first half of the season, there were rumors about the Cowboys trading a second for him, and I was 1,000% on board with giving up a 2nd-round pick for DJ Moore.
Yes.
Nick, do you remember that one?
Yes.
I remember it last year, but I don't think we were going to ever pull the trigger. Like, I thought we were mostly going to get Brandon Cooks over DJ Moore, because the Dallas Cowboys seemed a lot more interested in Brandon Cooks than they've seen DJ Moore, especially when it came close to the deadline.
Yeah.
Who would you have rather had?
To me, talent-wise, I would go Brandon Cook, because if you give him a quarterback, he can be a top 5 QB, top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. If you give him a good quarterback. DJ Moore is good, but I think Brandon Cooks is a whole different level of wide receiver. Look what he did in New England for like one season. He had like a close. I think he came close to 1,000 yards in New England. I don't remember everything he did in New England.
Yeah. I think he had his best season there, if I remember right. But
if you give him a quarterback, he can be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. It's the same thing with DJ Moore. DJ Moore can be a top 5 wide receiver if you give him a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. Gio, we're actually talking about that right now. About all 3 of us are on board with that. The Bears fleeced the Panthers is the way we're going with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's jump into what you mentioned, Rev. And this wasn't even on my list of things to talk about, but it absolutely should have been. And Rev, lead us off on this. Which quarterback are you taking number 1? What are you giving up 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and your best wide receiver for?
Well, again, he's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy, and I think, the top 2 guys, at least in this draft, we could probably all agree on. The safe quarterback picks coming in to this draft. You're probably looking at Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, and so immediate thought is he's going after one of these guys. But then, looking a little bit deeper, I began to think a little bit about their team, their roster. It seems like the Panthers might have a decent defense. They might have talent there on defense, but on offense, man, I'm looking at a depleted offense. You just got rid of Christian McCaffrey last year. You just got rid of DJ Moore now, and then you're looking at, all right, you're going after your franchise quarterback. who's he going to throw the ball to? Who is going to be this guy that's going to lead this team? And so my initial response, Coach, is I'm probably thinking C.J. Stroud is their guy, but I tell you what, Anthony Richardson, he kind of popped up here recently, so I don't really know. What are y'all's thoughts?
Go ahead, Nick, you want to ring in?
I'm gonna agree with you. I think it's gonna be CJ or the guy from Florida Gators but like he was saying, if they actually want to rebuild the team, they're gonna have to start from during the off season and start picking up receivers and start finding a running back to sit behind the quarterback. Because if you don't, who's he gonna throw to? Who's he gonna hand the ball to? It's like you got franchise quarterback ready to go, but you're setting him up to fail with no one to throw the ball to.
Exactly. Yep.
So let me take a look here.
Yep.
Carolina Panthers have, according to Spot Track, have $23.5 million in cap space right now. So that they could make a move for a
which isn't very much.
D-Hop or something like that, but no, it is not as much as you would think without having a huge quarterback contract on. You know, usually the teams at the top are the one in cap space are the ones that don't have those high paid quarterbacks: the Jets, the Bears, the Falcons, the Raiders, the Texans. So it's interesting there. I will say this, and putting my hate of the Gators aside, did any of you guys actually watch him play? Like what are we watching that made him makes people think like he's a great quarterback? Like, I get it. He's big, he's fast, he throws hard, he can jump far. But like, if that were the case, then you take your T.O. would have played quarterback, right? He would have gone out there and T.O. would have been the best quarterback of all time. I watched him play at Florida. I watched him play a lot. Probably a third of his games he ever played in his life I watched, because I hate the Gators. Like, my favorite team in college is Alabama and whoever's playing the Gators. So I watched them play a lot. I don't see it. I honestly, I don't see it. Could I be wrong? I'm no professional NFL scout. Rev, you live right there in Gator country. Is he that dude? Like, am I just way off base here?
No, I think, and I don't want to jump the gun here because I know we're going to get into some combine talk, but I just think the excitement of what just happened here recently in his testing runs has just a lot of people looking at him and saying, wow. And again, you know, that's why I go back to this idea on who's he going to throw to. And, you know, Coach, I know you're a big Bama fan, big Bryce Young fan. You know, you don't want Bryce to be running around for his life. You know, he's not that big guy. He's not the guy that's going to be able to take those hits over and over again. And then C.J. Stroud doesn't run the ball at all. Like, he is a pocket passer. And yet, you know, you got to give some talent around him. And so the only reason I'm looking at this Richardson guys is I'm going, this guy has the tools to be able to throw the ball and run the ball. I have zero confidence in his ability to immediately start in the league. And the Panthers would be absolutely crazy, in my opinion, to throw this guy into that situation right now. What are your thoughts, Nick? What's your thoughts on maybe one of these quarterbacks in that situation?
I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I don't think Bryce Young is that kind of a quarterback. He reminds me too much of Kyle Murray. He was decent in college, and I don't think he's going to be that good in the NFL. I think Richardson, I'm not a Gator fan at all, but Richardson reminds me a lot of Cam Newton, and the Carolina Panthers can literally get a copycat of Cam Newton because he's a big-sized quarterback with a nice arm, and he can also run a little bit. Not as fast as Cam Newton, but I think Richardson is the guy. And I think CJ will not fit the Carolina Panthers scheme at all, especially any success they want to have. But I don't think Bryce Young is that kind of a quarterback. I don't think he's that good or special. I think we're all getting bamboozled because he played in Alabama.
Uh-oh.
All right, hang on now.
That's fighting words, Coach. That's fighting words, Coach.
First of all, let's just break this apart, Nick. And I know it's your first time on the show. You're not aware of my Alabama love and my hate of the Gators. So let's just break it down first, all right? Cam Newton started out with the Gators, right? So we all know that. The difference between Cam Newton and this Richardson guy, not even worth remembering his first name at this point or using it. Cam Newton was up there with Tim Tebow as one of the best college football quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life. Single-handedly led Auburn to the national championship. Name somebody else on that team. They had a couple good defenders if you want to go there. But that was not a super talented team that he took to the championship and won it single-handedly. So I've heard those comparisons to Cam Newton over and over and over and over. And I get it. It's the size, it's the speed, it's the arm strength. All of that is comparable to Cam Newton. Cam Newton in college was on a completely different level than any of these guys. So, like, he went to Auburn, so it means I hate him too. But even comparing Bryce Young to him, like, Bryce Young wasn't anywhere near on the level Cam Newton was in college. Anthony Richardson, he just hasn't done anything at the college level that makes me think he's that dude. Cam Newton did it all. Even when he left Florida, or got kicked out of Florida, went to junior college, won the national championship or I don't even think it was junior college. It was like a D2 school or whatever it was. I forget where it was. But won the national championship at a D2 junior college, whatever it was. Transferred to Auburn, played at Auburn 1 year, won the national championship at Auburn, #1 draft pick, went to the Super Bowl. Like, I mean, it's not a comparable thing. As for Bryce Young, I think, Rev, you hit it on the head. His size absolutely concerns me. 100%. He got injured a few times at Alabama from getting hit. That would worry me a lot if I'm going to take him #1. That he's going to take those hits. Does he have every other tool in the book? He escapes pressure better than maybe anyone I've ever seen to throw downfield. He's not necessarily the runner like a Lamar Jackson or something's going to be. His release is lightning quick. So every other tool is there, but absolutely his size when it comes to getting injured is going to be a problem. If I'm an unbiased person and I'm looking at the whole thing, I think I'm looking at CJ Stroud. Like, if the injury concern worries me enough, I think Stroud is the guy. I don't like Richardson because there's no tape on him that says he's going to be a great quarterback. I like Stroud. Stroud can chuck that thing, man. Stroud can throw that thing all over the field. So can Bryce, but again, the size thing is a legitimate concern.
Honestly, I think CJ.
So let me.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead, because I'm gonna switch gears here. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, I think CJ is probably going to be the most talented quarterback in this whole entire draft class. Like, when you watch him play against the Georgia Bulldogs, definitely was not his fault. He looked like an elite quarterback, actually. He looked like he's been playing in the NFL for a long time. He's got the complete quarterback package. The arm, the speed, the awareness for down the field. I think CJ is going to be the guy for the NFL for a long time. I think he's going to be like a Patrick Mahomes guy who's going to come out here and show everyone that he can be on the same level as the rest of these quarterbacks in the NFL.
So you're a believer. You're definitely a believer in CJ Stroud. And here's the thing. He looked really good in the combine, looked really good in the championship game. Here's my final thoughts just on this scenario, and we can switch gears here, Coach. You know, I'm looking at Richardson right here for the Gators. And again, you know, if you didn't do it in college, what makes you think he can do it in the pros? You know, that's my immediate response. And again, this guy is the most athletic quarterback that we have seen, and I can't tell you how long, coming into the league. And so what I do know is NFL coaches are pretty prideful in the sense that here's how they think. They think that maybe this guy didn't work for the Gators because he was not coached well. And so, you know, we're still out on these Gators right now as far as can they coach a quarterback. It's been pretty suspect on them to be able to coach a quarterback for their scheme, for their system here the past couple seasons. They have not been impressive at all. And so I don't know if some of these coaches are looking at him and saying, man, those Gators didn't know how to use him. And I know exactly how to coach him up and bring him here on this team and make him into a superstar. And so yet, you know, he has everything you want as far as tools go. But my issue with him is the guy just can't read the field. He can't see the field. He can't read a defense. And that's, I think the Panthers would be absolutely insane to draft this guy number 1 overall.
Even though you're a Gator fan. Got you. Or not, you're not a Gator fan. I'm sorry. In Gator country, you kind of a Gator fan. Aren't one of your sons a Gator fan, or all your sons a Gator fans? I forget the exact tie that it was to it. What was it?
No. My oldest son is a Gator fan just because his uncle is a Gator fan. Like, he doesn't even watch football, so I wouldn't even consider him to be a Gator fan at all. So, yeah, there's no Gator love around here, brother.
Nick, before we, I heard you say it before we went on the air, but just so that we're all clear here, Rev's a big Miami fan. I'm an Alabama guy. Who are you a fan of?
Florida State.
Florida State. Well, Florida. My wife's a Florida State alum, so I don't hate Florida State as much as I hate the Gators, and I don't hate the Hurricanes that much. Like, they've never hurt me, so I have no hate for them. Maybe if I was alive in the 80s when they were pretty good, like, then I'd care. Or if Alabama was any good in the early 2000s, then it would matter. But I don't know. They've never hurt me, so I don't have any hate for them.
I got no hate towards them. We got Jimmy Johnson over there, and we got Mike Orban from Miami.
Yep. Well, we got Emmett from Florida, and I still hate Florida. So.
No, I hate Florida, triple passion. So love Emmitt Smith, but hate the Florida Gators.
I feel like the Cowboys redeemed him. That's the way I feel about it. But we're on this thing of quarterbacks, right? As I knock my mic over. Sorry about that. We're on this thing of quarterbacks. Nick, there's a quarterback in the league right now talking about quarterbacks that are athletic, Rev. Got franchise tags. So 2 firsts and them not matching the offer. But 2 firsts basically will get you Lamar Jackson right now. And it seems like the Ravens would not match the offer. In my opinion, it seems like they've gone through all this, that they would be okay taking 2 firsts. Nick, what is your opinion on this whole Lamar Jackson situation? There's so many different things you could talk about it, like where he should go, who should sign him, what the Ravens should do. What's your, just give me the rundown on your opinion of the whole situation.
I think Lamar Jackson is more of a high risk reward because his injuries are starting to stack up, and he really hasn't stayed healthy, I think, in the last 2 seasons. So if there is going to be a team that actually might get him, that might surprise a lot of people, is the Houston Texans. Because what if the Houston Texans don't want to ride with the rookie quarterback? So what if they take Lamar Jackson, and then Baltimore literally jumps up in the first round easily and gets a quarterback of their choosing, like a guy like Bryce Young or the Kentucky quarterback, or the what the heck's his name? Can't remember the other guy's name.
Will Levis is the Kentucky guy.
So the team that I can see that's going to surprise a lot of people is probably going to be Houston Texans. Like, everybody else is saying that the Houston Texans are going to be fine riding with the rookie quarterback, but they haven't really had any success when they did draft a rookie quarterback, when they trusted that guy with a long neck. So why don't you get a quarterback who's won the MVP, who's been into the playoffs already, who already has plenty of experience to actually get your team to the playoffs? And Lamar Jackson can be that guy if you give him the players. He's got Brandon Cooks over there.
But it's a very high draft pick to give up for Lamar Jackson when you could pay another guy a lot less. I'm not saying you're wrong. The Texans would immediately get a lot better, right, if they did trade for Lamar Jackson. But where they're at, they could get one of those top quarterbacks and pay him a fraction of what you're going to have to pay Lamar, right? That's my only knock on it.
But the thing is, like, if you're going to ride with the rookie quarterback, you have other chances, like to get a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo. You also have like a Lamar Jackson. They had a chance to get Derek Carr if they wanted him at the time, but I guess they didn't want him, and they could have tried to got Aaron Rodgers, but I think they need someone who's got experience, who's been to the playoffs, and not relying on these young quarterbacks anymore. They tried it many times. It's not working.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Raph?
Like,
yeah, it stinks. That's what I think it is. It's, we had talked about prior, what are the Ravens doing? What is Lamar thinking during this process? And I really think just there towards the end of the season, just this entire year, it kind of turned into a promising situation as far as maybe we can get Lamar signed for a long-term deal. I don't remember, Coach, exactly what those numbers were prior to them, signing. They threw a contract. They threw a bid out there for him to sign, and Lamar rejected it. Not really sure why or what, but I think Lamar was looking for the jackpot money. And then getting towards the end of the season, you're looking at, what are they going to do? And Lamar gets hurt, supposedly gets hurt, doesn't play. It almost looks like he's kind of quitting on the team. And I kind of felt like that was the beginning of the end of this relationship. And so putting a non-exclusive tag there on him, this is just complete disrespect, for Lamar Jackson. And, I don't see how they're going to repair the relationship for the future. And so I'm just completely surprised there's 0 teams out there, throwing a contract out at Lamar and giving up 2 first-round picks. I mean, to be honest with you, why wouldn't the Panthers do that? You know what I'm saying? Why not? After all you just gave, are you guys completely sold? Say it is CJ Stroud, is okay with CJ Stroud and giving up all of that instead of just giving up 2 first-round picks and signing Lamar and, keeping DJ Moore. And, I don't really know, man. It would have been pretty cool to see Lamar Jackson in a Panther uniform. And so, I don't really know what's going to happen right here, but I'm looking at a couple of teams out there. I do agree a little bit. The Texans, that would probably be a good situation. They definitely could use a quarterback. Their franchise is in the dumps. But, what about the Lions? Will the Lions be a team that could chase after this guy? They got a pretty decent team right here. And, maybe you can trade Goff. What's another team, Nick? Oh, he fell off.
Oh, no, he's back. We got you again, Nick. Go ahead.
Sorry. I meant to say, you also got the Oakland now, Las Vegas Raiders, who's looking for a quarterback after Derek Carr left. So I can see the Raiders being one of the teams that can try to take a chance on Lamar Jackson. They already got a good receiver over there. They got Devontae Adams over there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, they've got a good running back. I mean, they're a quarterback away at this point, right? You would think.
Yeah.
They got receiver, running back, O-line is meh, but they got a tight end. They've got talent out there on offense. That's a good point. They get Lamar out there under McDaniels and see what you can do.
They don't even need a good defense. If Lamar Jackson can put up so many points on the scoreboard, they don't even have to worry about the defense slowing the opponents down the other side, because who's going to stop Lamar Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
Especially when he's healthy.
So what do the Raiders pick? The Raiders pick 7.
Oh, the other team I was thinking about, coaches, I was thinking about the Washington Commanders.
Right.
I thought, man, how scary it would be. And in fact, I got a text this past week. It was either earlier this week or last week from a friend of mine, and there was definitely some stuff flying around Twitter with Adam Schefter saying that there was a deal that was going to get done with the Commanders, getting Lamar Jackson. Boy, in the back of my head, I'm going, oh no, please don't let that happen. Because I tell you, Lamar Jackson on the Commanders, that's our division is hard enough as it is, and boy, that would be a tough go right there, because that would be pretty scary.
Michael Parsons could handle him. Just put a spy on him all day.
My thing was, and I said this on the Discord, if you're not on the Discord, jump in the Discord. We were kicking this around earlier this week. Was before the Giants, I think it was earlier that day that they re-signed Daniel Jones, or earlier in the day I said it from when they signed him, and was like, man, they're the 25th pick, or if I remember right, 25th, or was it 26th, one or the other. Let me look real quick. I got it pulled up. 25th, we're the 26th. That's why I'm thinking it. Yeah, so they're the 25th pick in the draft. Are you willing to give up the 25th pick in the draft? I mean, if you're going to pay a quarterback $40 million a year anyway, why not give that pick up and make it Lamar Jackson instead of Daniel Jones? That one made sense to me. But maybe they like Daniel Jones. Maybe they think he is that guy, and this year wasn't. I mean, his stats weren't even all that mind blowing. He played better this year, but he still was very mediocre in my opinion. But, Nick, the 25th pick and next year's first. Man. Are you
just
giving that
1
up?
year?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Daniel Jones got overpaid straight up. They should have given that money to Lamar Jackson. not Lamar Jackson. Barkley. They tagged Barkley and they chose Daniel Jones. That's stupidity right there. Daniel Jones he's like had like maybe one good season. That was like last year. He's probably led the league in like fumbles and throws too many picks. Like the dude's a joke. I don't know what the Giants see in Daniel Jones. So you could have literally had Derek Carr. Could have had freaking Lamar Jackson. Like you had Jimmy Garoppolo, and you chose this clown over here, Daniel Jones, who's not been relevant at all. Never had a winning record. And now all suddenly you guys said he's special because they brought some guy from Buffalo, and now you're gonna say he's good? Nah, he's trash.
He's also from Alabama, by the way.
That's a true cowboy at heart.
Well, you mentioned it right there, so let's just jump into the next quarterback right there, here. Nick. Rev, Derek Carr to the Saints. I know that it was expected to happen, that they almost traded for him or whatever. What is this newsworthy? I don't know. I watch a lot of Magic games, and they have a segment every time, and is this something? Is what they call it, and they mentioned some like obscure stat about somebody or another, and they're like, "Is this something?" That's kind of what I feel like about this Derek Carr signing. Rev, is this something?
Yeah, I tell you, I mean, personally, I like Derek Carr. I like him because he has all the tools that you need, for a quarterback. And I think this is a good fit for him to go to the Saints. He seems to be a dome quarterback, so he's a little bit better in the dome.
That dumb or dome?
My biggest dome, better in the dome. My biggest issue right now with Derek Carr is, man, you had some talented guys around you on that Raider team. Devontae Adams. Who else do you have? The slot receiver from Clemson. I can't. Josh Jacobs. I mean, you had some studs. Darren Waller. You had some guys around you, and you couldn't do much with that. And so that was a little concerning with me. I definitely think that Derek Carr became the scapegoat. Every time you have a bad season and you kind of went all out, or you pretty much have all the pieces in place, you got to blame somebody. And the franchise, the ownership decided to go with, the coach over the quarterback, which is a rare thing. It's very rare to see the coach win, in those scenarios. And so you're seeing Derek Carr being the scapegoat here. So if the Raiders stink it up again with that talent around them, then we're probably going to see that coach get canned here shortly. But I like the fit. I like the fit for Derek Carr with the Saints. They're kind of built a little bit differently, and maybe for Derek Carr it can be a little bit more of a low key, less is more kind of a situation, and so I don't really think this is newsworthy, just because of where Derek Carr just came from. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Here's the craziest thing about it all, guys. The Saints should be favored to win that division next year, which is absolutely insane. And it's because Derek Carr is quarterback.
So, Nick, before you weigh in on this, let me read you a couple stat lines, because we just talked about two quarterbacks here. And sorry, Rev, if you weren't done, please continue.
Nope. You're good. Go ahead.
So we just talked about two quarterbacks, right? And we said one of them had a better year for him. And then we said the second one was terrible, right? Had a bad year. So let me read you these stat lines just to make sure that we're giving both of them their due. One of them completed 67% of their passes for 3,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. The year before that same quarterback, 64%, 2,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. The other quarterback last year, 60% of his passes, 3,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. The year before that, which many counted as this guy's best year. 68% of his passes, 4,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. So the guy that we said had a good season, threw all of 15 touchdowns last year, 10 the year before. The guy that we're saying had a bad season, who did throw a lot of interceptions, I'll say that, but he threw the ball a lot. 3,500 yards, 24 touchdowns, 14 picks, 23 and 14 the year before, 4,800 yards. So just to make sure that we're putting players where they belong, a bad year for Derek Carr would have been a career year for Daniel Jones. So just put that out there, that of the two quarterbacks we just discussed, they're on different levels here of what's good and what's bad. Sorry, Nick. Derek Carr? Is this something like him going to the Saints?
Not really. Like he was the ref was saying, like it's nothing really, hasn't really shown that he can live up to the same level. Like they gave him Jacobs, they got Josh Jacobs, they got all these players around him, and he didn't really do anything. Like, yes, it is coach's fault, but are we really gonna act like Derek Carr is actually Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady news or anything? Like, it's Derek Carr. Like, what has he done? What has he done for me lately? It's gonna be like the Sam Darnold situation. Like, he's gonna go to New Orleans Saints, maybe have a few good games, and fall on his ass and end up being a backup quarterback. He's not that special to me. I don't think he's that good. Like, they gave him everything they needed to succeed. They gave him
Nick.
Super
Let me ask you, Nick. Tomorrow, the Dallas Cowboys, we lose Dak Prescott for whatever reason, and we can get Derek Carr or Daniel Jones for the same amount of money, the same whatever compensation we have to give up. Which one are you taking? Are you taking Derek Carr or are you taking Daniel Jones?
Oh man, that's a tough question, bro. Oh,
that's easy.
I'm gonna take Derek Carr.
Brother.
I'm gonna take
Don't make it that hard, Nick.
I'm gonna take Derek Carr because I don't. Daniel Jones, like I'm gonna keep saying, he ain't special. Giants fans want to believe it, but they're crazy that he ain't special. He's a clown who just got lucky to have one good year last year and get to the playoffs because of who? Barkley.
I like the clown. He's a clown.
He's a clown.
He's a really tall clown. I mean, if we want to go about it, that dude is tall.
Hell, I think
Nick's a hater. Do you notice that?
I like it. As a fellow Cowboys fan, I support hating the Giants. Rev, I'm assuming you're going Derek Carr as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no question. There's one reason why Daniel Jones had a good year, and it's because of Daboll. Daboll is the difference in that team.
Roll Tide.
And I don't know, Daboll's the difference on the Giants team, and so I don't know. I'm a little surprised that Daboll is just 100% with him. Daniel Jones is a big guy. He can run. He's got and I'm gonna be very careful on how I say this right here, but he's got a little Josh Allen in him as far as a little bit of backyard football, can take off and run. He's actually a pretty fast run. He's an athlete runner out there, but he is an athletic quarterback, and so. Daboll, when he was with the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen was incredible. And this year, this is the worst Josh Allen we have seen. And it's, maybe it has something to do with Daboll leading Buffalo Bills. And so I don't know. Daboll gave the green flag, the green light on signing this franchise quarterback and linking your job to this quarterback. And so, I'm not a believer, but, maybe Daboll is smarter than the entire league because everybody's laughing right now at the Giants. And as Cowboy fans, we celebrate this large contract of paying Daniel Jones.
Fully support Daniel Jones.
We love it. We're proud of you, Giants. Fully support you, Giants. Great job, Giants. You've had a fantastic off season. So, yeah, there we go.
Honestly, I think Josh Allen is only good because of Stephon Diggs. If you look how he did before Stephon Diggs got there, he was not playing at that same exact level before Stephon Diggs got there. Stephon Diggs has actually mentioned it before that he's only good because of him. And people's even said that he's only good because of Stephon Diggs. It's not because of Josh Allen being Josh Allen. He literally has the same exact losing playoff record, close to freaking Dak Prescott, but nobody's talking about him losing playoff games as much as Dak Prescott loses playoff games.
Imagine giving your quarterback weapons and it making them better. We won't get into that today. That's a talk that we beat to death. But just to close out this conversation, just to further emphasize my point on the levels to this thing. This guy that we're saying had a bad year last year in Josh Allen, 4,200 yards, 63% of his passes, 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. So just want to emphasize that there are levels to this thing. And Josh Allen's on one, and below that is Derek Carr, and way below that is Daniel Jones. So I just want to point out that there's levels to this thing. And I do want to talk about one more quarterback. We've been talking about quarterbacks for too long. So we'll talk about one more, and we'll get off this quarterback train. I know the NFL is 100% about quarterbacks these days, and that's why we spend so much time talking about it. You can't win without one, and if you don't have Patrick Mahomes, you're just hoping to put together a team to go get one. But the last one I want to talk about is Aaron Rodgers. A lot of rumors, and by the time a lot of people are listening to this, it might already be done, but Aaron Rodgers to the Jets is the rumor. And I think it's more than a rumor at this point. The Jets are confirmed to have permission to talk to him, flew out to California to talk to him. Nick, is this a good fit? If you're Aaron Rodgers, is this where you want to go?
Oh, yeah. I definitely this thing would be a perfect fit. Like, the Jets are literally only a quarterback away of actually being one of the best teams in the NFL. And if it's like 1 year, 2 years, the Jets just need one quarterback to get to the playoffs and has a chance to run for a Super Bowl. They got a good defense. They got a phenomenal offense. The only thing stopping the Jets from getting anywhere is a quarterback, and Rodgers can get the Jets to that promised land. Give him 2 years, and he will get the Jets to the promised land. They just drafted a really good wide receiver, and they also got Sauce Gardner, who's leading the defense. So you're only one step. You only need that one piece left to get the Jets to the promised land. And Zach Wilson's obviously not the guy, so why hold on to him? Package him. Give up a second-round pick for Rodgers.
So my worry would be that he doesn't make it those 2 years. Like, he just plays one and then he's an issue. What do you think, Rev?
Yeah. I mean, if your concern with it is his long-term commitment here, and isn't it kind of funny? We're kind of seeing Brett Favre back in the day, and
he'll be a Viking
bouncing around a little bit, and he'll be a Viking next. So I can't lie to you guys. I love this idea of Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. I think the coach seems like he's pretty solid, and things that he has brought to the Jets. You know, we always talk about those bad teams that kind of surprised leaving in. And the coach over there, he had that team believing from the very get-go. He told them from the very get-go, hey, we're going to surprise people, and they definitely did coming in. And especially with their quarterback carousel that they were doing with Joe, putting every different kind of guy in there between Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco and Mike White. They're throwing these guys around in there, and of course Mike White seemed like he was the guy that could maybe, but injuries and things like that kind of held him out. Breece Hall as the running back, boy, you talk about guy that came on and looked like he was going to be a stud, and so I hated to see him get injured, but he's going to be high on fantasy football boards next year. You better believe it.
Did you call his injury early in the year?
You got the I don't know. I was worried about him. But you have the offensive and the defensive rookie of the year on the same team, so you can't diss on them, man. They drafted well. If they can pick up Aaron Rodgers right here, and I don't care what draft pick you get them, if you get Aaron Rodgers in there and you got Garrett Wilson, and I can't remember who their other receiver was, but he's not bad either. and the tight end, that defense is pretty solid. And so, I'm going to give an ending right here, Nick. I'm going to tell you, you don't have to wait 2 years. Aaron Rodgers on the Jets, he could make them a contender immediately. And so, I love the idea. I hope they get it done.
Well, like I said, maybe that's why I said it's gonna be 1 or 2 years. But the Jets, it's bad enough. The Jets, literally, their best quarterback last year was Mike White, which is pretty bad for Zach Wilson's situation when Mike White has literally been a backup or a practice squad player, and then
Cowboy
you got a guy
legend
like
Mike
him,
White.
huh?
I said cowboy legend Mike White.
Cowboy legend.
Yeah, but either way, Mike White literally outperformed Zach Wilson. I don't know how many games he played because I really wasn't watching the Jets game, but he literally outperforms Zach Wilson, and that's bad on Zach Wilson's part because Zach Wilson's the first overall pick. And if you get outplayed by a practice squad player or a guy you call from the bench, that's embarrassing. You don't belong in the NFL. It's like Josh Rosen. You get outplayed by anybody and you're your first overall pick, you don't belong in the NFL. It means you're not that guy. Pack your bags and go home.
It's done. All right. So we've talked about all the quarterback situations. We beat it to death. We talked about the college quarterbacks, talked about the pro quarterbacks, talked about the trades. Let's hopefully talk about some other positions here. And we already talked about Anthony Richardson. So when I ask this, Rev, I'll ask you to ring in first. I know, Nick, you said you weren't a big follower of the Combine, but if you have some names, throw them out there. Looking at the Combine, Rev, other than Anthony Richardson, who really improved their stock? Or you can go the other way. Like, who disappointed you with their performance at the Combine? Again, this is underwear Olympics. Take it for what it's worth, but we're going to take it like the results are going to determine how good a football player they are right now. What do you think, Rev?
Yeah, I say it every year. You got your draft prospects lined up, and they're throwing drafts out there. Mel Kiper and all these different guys have their opinions on who their rankings, their position rankings of how these guys are going to line up. And I basically say it every year. You get them out there working out in their underwear, running numbers and everything, jumping, and then whole thing really skewed and thrown around because the measurements, the metrics, and each team's looking at each draft prospect, and they're trying to make sure that they're within that diametric of what a NFL player should be at that specific position. And so, your left tackles need to have at least 76-inch arms, so that they can have good extensions and things like that. So certain guys have to be a certain height. We're not going to draft you if you're too short or if you don't have enough build or those types of things. And so for the most part, it worked pretty good. But at the end of the day, you want football players. You know what I'm saying? Can they what are their instincts like on the football field, and what kind of competition were they in the college game? And so coming in the Combine, open slate, you're looking at all these draft prospects. I know we don't want to sit here and keep talking about Richardson from the Gators, but he's going to get drafted probably top 5 now based on that workout. And so it's definitely helpful, to compete. And so I think my biggest issue, Coach, is when guys come in there and they decide not to compete, and I'll give you an example. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm looking at one of the wide receivers, and of course the Cowboys need a receiver. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of look at those guys first right here, and basically from the receivers I was looking at across the board, I think the top receivers didn't hurt or help themselves. But one of the guys that did not run their 40, Jackson Smith Jigba, man, he had a fantastic Combine. I believe he solidified himself as the number 1 receiver that should be taken off in off the draft board in this draft. You know, how high is he? A top 10 guy? I don't think so. My assumption is he'll probably be going between 15 to 20 because he's more of a slot receiver. But the Cowboys, I know, have their eye on him. He didn't run the 40 because I believe if he would have, he would have ran like a 4.6. And his game is not long speed. His game is quickness. His three cone, all his 40 time wouldn't have been good himself. His three cone he did run, and it was the best three cone. And I want to say in all the draft, he had the fastest three cone. So his quickness, you know, could he come in as a slot receiver, be like a Cooper Kupp or somebody like that? He's going to go to a team and probably start right off the bat and be a fantastic slot receiver. So I think his stock rise a little bit. Zay Flowers, I heard Jordan Addison. He probably jumped up the board a little bit with his workout. And I did notice that Micah Parsons as well. He was giving a shout out to Jordan Addison because he just looks like a receiver. You know, lanky, not real tall.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Pennsylvania guy, but he actually looks pretty legit as a receiver. Another guy here that I just want to throw out here real quick, a tight end, Darnell Washington, and I don't know if you guys saw this or not,
The Georgia
but
guy, yeah.
his numbers, his numbers were really good. He's 6'7", 6'8", a big old guy. And basically, I don't know what you call them, the sled machines, the pushing sled machines, if you guys have seen them before. And he basically went up there and pushed the sled like it was a rag doll. And then you see these other tight ends go up there, like the top prospect, Michael Mayer, and they're barely struggling to push it ahead. And here's Darnell Washington just like throwing it around like a rag doll. So I believe he moved his stock up, which, you know, talent-wise, he looks like he's pretty good, but I got other tight ends that are ahead of him. But I definitely think that he might have moved himself maybe into the later first round or something because of his ability to maybe even block and be strong enough at the point of attack. So there's a couple guys on here that I looked at that I kind of really liked, Coach. Of course, we could sit here and go on and on. Jalen Carter, who is a defensive tackle, he had a good workout. And then the other guy here, the last guy that I just want to throw out here, I don't know if I can find him or not, but maybe I'll let you talk about him. But he's your boy Nolan Smith from Alabama, and he had a fantastic
Georgia.
workout.
He's from
Was
Georgia.
it Georgia? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. So
blasphemy. We almost ended the stream right there. I almost clicked the button.
Almost shut it off right now. Yeah, I mean the dude's huge and basically ran like a 4.38 or something like that, which is absolutely disgusting. So, you know, yeah, a few guys right there. I don't know if you guys what are a few guys that you guys saw within the combine or maybe paid attention to through Twitter and stuff like that.
So I'll ring in here with a few. You touched on a lot of the guys I wanted to talk about. I'll say that Hyatt from Tennessee, he's kind of a one-trick pony kind of guy, or that they see as a deep threat. Ran a 4.41, which is fast. It's just not, you know, it's a fast receiver. It's not a really fast wide receiver like you would expect. Like I liked Marvin Mims from Oklahoma, who's kind of a more complete receiver. We've talked about in the past that I liked Hyatt for the Cowboys because of his speed, and we were in desperate need of speed out there. Marvin Mims, I thought, was kind of a better all-around receiver, and he ran a faster 40 time, 300ths of a second faster. So just to put it out there that it's not that much. But you see the 4.3 instead of 4.4, and you think it's a lot. So Marvin Mims is one I think to watch in like the second round or so. He might have raised himself even higher than that with his performance. He looked really good. To talk about disappointments, you kind of talked about the others. Addison ran good routes, but kind of a slower time. And Jigba with his three-cone drill definitely looks like he's a slot at the next level. But to talk about other receivers, I definitely am with you with the Darnell Washington. Huge, just absolutely huge. Really long arms, huge hands, heavy, tall. Uh, you know, they were already kind of talking about that we might be interested in a guy like that. He's a great blocker. I'm blanking on the guy's name now, but the white guy they have playing tight end is maybe the best tight end in football, probably a top 10 pick next year. But Darnell Washington was their other tight end in their two tight end sets, and so he gets overshadowed a little bit. But absolute freak of an athlete, Darnell Washington is. And the opposite, Michael Mayer, kind of disappointed me a little bit. Not as big as I thought he would be. Ran a slow time. Just maybe he falls to us now. I know that he's been kind of my dream pick since we started here, right? And I was like, man, if Michael Mayer can get there, it's that combine thing. And I said, I know we're going to judge him by their combine stats right now. And if we're judging just by his combine stats, like, why would you not take Darnell Washington? Like, Darnell Washington looked like everything Michael Mayer is, but faster, stronger, longer, all of the above. But no, that 4.7 time from Mayer, it just wasn't impressive. He didn't look strong, and if he's going to be a 4.7 guy, he needs to be that heavier 260 weight, and he needs to be that 6'7", Jason Witten size stuff. But Jason Witten ran a slow 42, and that's why he dropped in the draft, and obviously we were okay with that. So maybe he is just that guy like Jason Witten.
Yeah,
just
second round guy.
Yeah, just has a natural talent for the game. So do I still want him? Yeah. Maybe this helps him fall to us at that pick. Is Darnell Washington on my radar too? Absolutely. Like, would I be upset if we took him with the 26th pick? No, I would not be upset at all. I think he would add something to our offense, especially if we want to run the ball. He's going to block a lot better than Mayer will. Other players that kind of caught my eye, Keely Ringo out of Georgia had kind of fallen to second, third round in a lot of people's mock drafts. Put up a 4.3 something super fast. 4.36 at his size. I'll tell you his size right now. 6'2", 207. 6'2", 207, ran a 4.3. Sounds like the Cowboys-sized corner. Ran a super fast time. I definitely would have him on my radar late in the first. I do like Joey Porter Jr. Nick, I know you said beforehand that you're a big Joey Porter Jr. fan. I do like him. I think he's going to be gone before our pick. If he was there at 26, I would eat him up. But I think he's going to be a top 15 kind of guy by the time all is said and done. Nick, draft prospects. I know you said you didn't follow the combine real close when we were talking before the show, but go ahead and lay out some prospects for us that you like.
Like I said, I like the Ohio State guy. I don't think the Cowboys need a tight end because we got Jake Ferguson and we got Hendershot. So I don't think the Cowboys need our tight end.
Good old Hendershot.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good on tight ends, and I think the Dallas Cowboys need to focus more on building around the offense, and I think that we need to also look at the guy from Texas who's also running back who could also possibly like, are we really going to keep relying on Ezekiel? Like, I love Ezekiel Elliott, but are we going to keep relying on Ezekiel Elliott to be the main guy still?
Rev, did you notice that I left him out of my entire commentary? Nick, I don't know if you've seen the show before, but Rev and I have vastly different opinions on running backs in the NFL, and we have beat it to death on this show. I will just say that I do not want to take a running back in the first round. Rev does. I want to get rid of Zeke. Rev is kind of on the fence about it. I think now he wants to get rid of Zeke. I've talked him into it finally. Just to sum up the last 2 months of our conversations on running backs. But Nick, if I'm understanding right, you want Bijan Robinson in the first, right?
He's literally just he's literally a copycat of CMC. He can do it all. He can catch. He can also he can block. He's literally just a copycat of CMC. So why not have a CMC on your team? And you already have Tony Pollard, so have 2 speed running backs who can do it both ways. Because Tony Pollard can catch, he can run. Tony Pollard can't block, but if you get a guy like the guy from Texas, that's literally it's game over. Now it's like they said they want to keep running the ball more. Why not get a good running back who can actually help you run the ball more? Zeke's not going to be that guy anymore. Like, I love Zeke. I've supported Zeke for the last 2 years now, and I keep trying to tell people that he's still that guy. But Zeke's really not that guy anymore. He's out of gas. He's more of a fullback more than anything else now.
Go ahead, Rev. Talk about running backs. I see you want to. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, the more I kind of look into this draft, I would love to have Bijan at at that pick. My issue is that he's going to go top 15. And in fact, I can't lie to y'all. I'm scared to death he's going to go to the Eagles at 10. And I think the Eagles would be so smart to pick him up at 10. But the Eagles are going to pick one of these guys that we want. I can see them going Joey Porter Jr. or Bijan Robinson. I'm going to go ahead and call it right now that they're going to go either running back or corner. And so they're going to have the best pick of either position. If it's not Bijan Robinson at that position, I would love to have Gibbs from Alabama. And I know for Coach, I know you don't want the running back, but he had a fantastic workout. He is a dynamic receiver. My only issue is you got one ball and you got two running backs now. And so if you're going to draft a guy that early in the first round, you want him to be the starter. And Pollard's your guy. I think coming into this thing, once Zeke gets cut after June, that post cut, that re-signing or just clean cut, I think that's going to let you know what direction they go basically with this draft. If they take a running back in the top 3 rounds, that's pretty much going to let you know. I would love it for them to go a different direction here. And then there's some pretty good backs in this draft that you can get in the second, third round.
Amen.
So we'll kind of see how that goes right there. But another position, I'm going to just kind of backtrack a little bit with what we were talking about. And Michael Mayer, I don't like his workout there, but that goes both sides as far as the combine and not getting caught up too much into it. The guy's a football player. And so sometimes you don't need to think too much into that. If he's available, he's been that guy for quite a while. My fear is that I'm hearing through smaller circles and things like that the Cowboys are liking a different tight end. Maybe Michael Mayer is that guy. Maybe they have him. I've always had him as the top tight end, and maybe their thought was he will never be available, so we need to go to the second best option. But I'm hearing more news, more word whispers about this Dalton Kincaid from Utah than any other tight end there in the draft. So, and I don't know if you guys have seen anything on him.
Have you seen? I've heard a lot of Laporta, the
Yeah.
Iowa tight end. I've seen a lot of talk about him as well.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about him as well, but he's not your first round pick guy. I'm looking at who are you going to be your first round picks, and basically I think it comes down to 3 guys. I think it's Kincaid, Mayer, or Washington. And to be honest with you, I really hope it's not Washington. I would not be happy with Washington at that pick. One, kind of like Nick said, we already have some pretty good tight ends, but the difference with this Kincaid guy is he is more of a receiving tight end than he is a blocking tight end, which again, we want more weapons for Dak. My fear is that Kincaid might be a higher option than some of these receivers that some of us want. Guys like Hyatt and other people that might be available there towards the end of the first round. And so Dalton Kincaid might be somebody that you want to look into. He is by far the best hands catching, which is crazy to think about with Michael Mayer because he's like all around really good. But Dalton Kincaid, you can watch his highlight reels, catch after catch after catch with guys in his back pocket, and he's just snagging the ball and he's making incredible catches. So he might be one that we can look into as the draft gets closer and closer here. So there's just a couple other positions right there, Coach.
If you're talking about the guy, You're
Nick.
talking about the guy from Utah. Apparently, I saw on Twitter. Apparently, he's only dropped 2 passes in his whole entire career.
Mm-hmm.
For the last 2 seasons, he only dropped 2 passes in Utah.
Yeah, he's pretty good with them hands. So
I seen a little bit of highlights this morning because I saw someone posted it. So I looked up him. I looked up the Notre Dame guy because apparently people call the Notre Dame guy Baby Gronk because he's built like Gronk.
Yeah,
Yep.
he wears 87. That's part of it too, and like his heroes, Gronkowski. I think that plays into it a lot too. He's not nearly as big. I'm
not really impressed with the Georgia tight end. I don't see why people like him so much because he's big. I don't see anything.
He never had the chance to be the great receiver, right? Because they have that other guy, and I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. The other guy is going to be a top 10 pick next year. It's
yes,
unless something drastic happens, the other guy is going to be the highest drafted tight end in years. That's how good the other guy was, Nick. And hold on, let me I'll tell you his name because I don't know why I'm blanking on it. Let me
I'm not really good with names, so
yeah, Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is his name. I'll tell you his size. Yeah. Let me look him up real quick. I'll tell you his size. But just trust me when I say that this guy is on another level than anyone we're talking about right now. Anybody we're talking about is nowhere near as good as Brock Bowers is. And whether that shows in the pros or not, I don't know. Tight ends, they tend to be a little iffy when they come out. The early drafted ones tend to fail, and the later drafted ones tend to do well. But he, on paper, is an absolute stud.
But does Dallas Cowboys really want to go tight end in the first round? We have bigger needs like cornerbacks, and we also need like another pass rusher.
Well, I feel that you guys,
I agree.
The points you guys are making and the different tight ends we're talking about tells me that this class is deep and absolutely don't take one in the first. Take whichever one's still there in the second, if you're asking me. And if that's the Iowa guy, then it's the Iowa guy. But, if the class is this deep and none of them are really Brock Bowers, then wait. Take a corner, take a wide receiver, take a Hyatt if that's the way you see it. The one reason I'm against tight ends at this point is because we really, really, really need some speed on the offense. The Cowboys do. And none of these guys are that. None of these guys are Vernon Davis at tight end. We need some speed out there. So if that means we overdraft a wide receiver with some speed, maybe that's the way to go. Or corner. I'm kind of leaning that way. Wide receiver or corner. Take a tight end or running back in the second or third. That's kind of where I'm at. Sorry, Nick. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I always do. I always talk over people for some reason. But I think the one receiver that I think the Cowboys might look at it if he actually comes close to 26 is the guy from Boston College. Like, I've seen a little bit of highlights of him, and I've actually watched him play last year. He's actually not that bad of a receiver. So if he can sneak into the Dallas Cowboys, he can actually with CeeDee Lamb. I forgot his name is.
Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers.
Like, he's actually could be really one of the best receivers that nobody's really talk about as much. Like, I've heard everybody talk about the Ohio State guy, JS. I can't even pronounce his name. I'm not even going to try to.
And Jigba.
Jigba. And then you got the other receivers everybody's talking about, but nobody's talking about the guy from Boston College. Like, he actually could be something special if people actually look at him more and watch his film. He's actually a really good speed guy. And he's got good hands.
Ran a 4.42 too, so I mean, he's right
like
there.
He's just not big.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's just not a big guy.
5'9", 182.
That's your biggest concern about him.
Like, we don't really need a big guy. We just need someone who could play like Cedric Wilson, but just a better version of Cedric Wilson. Like, we got CeeDee Lamb. If we can get a healthy Michael Gallup, even if we can't get OBJ or D-Hop, why won't just get a good slot receiver like Zay Jones from Boston College, who can be a better version of Cedric Wilson?
So if you had your choice between the two, between Zay Flowers and Jalen Hyatt, right? Two fast guys, two deep threat type receivers, right? Hyatt's 6 foot. They basically ran the same 40 time. Both ran 4.4s, low 4.4s. 6 foot, 176. Did it in the SEC. Zay Flowers. Now, Hyatt might go earlier, and I like Flowers, but that 5'9", It scares me, Nick. You're okay with having a 5'9" guy out there like Steve? He's got to be Steve Smith to be any good, right?
Yeah, Steve Smith, like everybody, like Steve Smith, Hall of Famer. He wasn't the biggest wide receiver, but look at Steve Smith in his career, elite quarterback. Why can't Zay Jones be that guy? Like, just because he's small doesn't mean he's a bad wide receiver. Like Wes Welker, another small wide receiver, but played phenomenal. Cole Beasley, another plays phenomenal. Zay Jones can be in that class as one of the next best short receivers in the NFL. Like I think he can actually he's that guy. I've seen enough on watching him a little bit on film and then watching a little bit of him in college football. He's literally could be that. He could be like a next Steve Smith, Cole Beasley, or Wes Walker. He's a package player that we could use on the offense.
Hey, I will take any speed guy we want to get out there because we are slow as dirt on offense outside of CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard. So please just get someone with some wheels out there that can do something.
Like Tyreek Hill, I don't think he's a big dude, and he's fast as hell, and he's been one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL. So why not get speed? Speed always kills.
Did you guys see Tyreek Hill in that 60-yard dash at the World or the U.S. Indoor Championships?
Yeah, he smoked everybody.
A bunch of track stars. A 60-yard race, he beat him by like 20 yards. I'm probably exaggerating. That's probably hyperbole, but he beat them by a lot. Did you see that one?
They didn't have a chance.
I just saw a post on it. I didn't actually watch a lot. I'll probably check them out tonight. So
I didn't watch it. Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. Go on.
No, let me just chime in real quick because there's, we're looking at these prospects and I know what we like, especially as fans. We see the areas on the team that need help, and you're 100% right. We need some speed. The question is, do you want to pay for speed with a first-round pick? And history tells us that that's just not the way the Cowboys operate. They do not pick small receivers early on. They want an X or an O, or X or a Y receiver that can play on the outside, that's big and fast. Those are guys, and that's why when I'm looking at this entire draft class, there's really nobody that, as far as a first round talent, there's nobody there that I believe that the Cowboys are going to take. Do I think Zay Flowers? I'm with you, Nick. Do I think that we should draft him in the first round pick if he's available? I would be fine with that. I really would. I hate that he's short, but I know he's dynamic, he's smart, and he runs really good routes, and so he would fit the West Coast system really well. I just don't think the Cowboys are going to do that. So, you got this another guy like Josh Downs from North Carolina. He had a great workout. He's kind of more of an old school guy, and I'm looking at him. He has some of those traits that I want, but I don't see him as a first round pick, for the Cowboys. And so these guys, Jalen Hyatt, he can get downfield fast in a hurry, but the guy can't run routes. And what is the most important thing whenever you're going into a West Coast offense? You got to run routes. And so I'm feeling like we're not going to draft a first round pick. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but that's why I'm saying the Cowboys, they like their guys a certain size, and it's one of those disappointing things, because if you could have Tyreek Hill on your team, like, is there anybody on your team that you would rather have Tyreek Hill in his prime? Like, I love CeeDee Lamb, but you picking Tyreek Hill or CeeDee Lamb?
Regan, I'm not thinking twice.
Like, it's a no-brainer right there. Right. Like, let's not make this hard, because. But then on the same side right here, Jalen Waddle from Alabama, smaller guy, but man, he can light up the field with that speed. And so I don't know, maybe if they do draft a smaller receiver this year, later in the first, just maybe Mike McCarthy has a little bit more say so in this whole thing than we realize.
Maybe you want
But
to
I'm
watch
just
that,
not
Red,
feeling
with
it,
that
guys.
with that in mind. Talking about good route running and decent size. That Jordan Addison, 6 foot 174, not a big guy. Doesn't run a
Yes.
great 40 time, but he is a great route runner. A great route runner. Not
Yes, he
good,
is.
not
Yes, he
pretty
is.
good. He's great. A great route runner. Probably the best in this draft.
Correct.
And it's
Yes.
possible that he falls to us. Not likely, but possible that he falls to us, and that might be a good pick for us with everything you just described about what we're looking for.
I would like that. And here's another guy, Quentin Johnson, too, from TCU. You know how they like their Texas guys. So he's another guy that you're
Quentin
looking
Johnson.
at. Go ahead, Nick.
I think there's a 0% chance he gets to us. I think there's a low
Yeah.
percent chance that Addison falls to us. I think there's a 0% chance that Johnson does. Sorry, Nick.
He's going that high.
Oh, I was agreeing with you guys. I was just totally agreeing. Like, if we can get Anderson or Johnson, those would be a good receiver. But the problem with the Dallas Cowboys is if they don't start changing up their playbook and start doing things different, we're going to be in the same cycle over and over again. It's like the free agency. We're not going to go to the Super Bowl if we keep repeating the same playbook over and over again. If you don't start changing it up, people are teams already figured us out. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to be the team that signs a bunch of crappy players, and we're gonna also draft maybe a few good players in the draft, and end up probably finding like maybe two, 3 good players in the draft, like good diamonds. But the Dallas Cowboys playbook is eventually gonna have to change if they want to get to the Super Bowl. They're gonna have to get players that are actually going to help this team get to the Super Bowl. They can't keep drafting the same players' kind of skills, and they gotta stop trying to sign players who are not going to help this team get anywhere. They want to keep sticking. Go on.
Just something to think about. There's a lot of areas I want to hate on the Cowboys for in the front office. I can't stand the way they spend money. I think they're stingy, but you know how I feel, Coach. I can't hate on them when it comes to the draft because Will McClay is the best there is, and man, they've been hitting on draft picks, and so if they were horrible, because as bad as they are at free agency and signing bridge players to 1 to 2 year contracts and not being tied down, and as horrible as they are at all of that, they are fantastic draft. They're a draft team, and so if they were bad at both, I think we'd be screaming. But for the most part, they've been hitting on their draft prospects, pretty well.
Well, everybody good on our team.
And so, but yeah, everybody good. But I do agree with you that we do have to change some things up. We got to do things a little bit differently. But early on picks, I mean, you can't be mad about Micah Parsons or Tyler Smith. Even Sam Williams. Those are great picks.
But the Dallas Cowboys made a mistake by taking Taco Cheriton when we had a chance to grab T.J. Watt. Like, if we literally had T.J. Watt and drafting Michael Parsons a year later, this defense would be a whole different ballgame. Like, we wouldn't have to worry about keeping D-Law. Like, D-Law is a good player, but at the same time, how long are we going to keep D-Law? Like, he's starting to slow down. He's not that pass rusher that we had a long time ago. Like, if we would have drafted T.J. Watt and then Michael Parsons, we don't have to worry about D-Law or ever paying him an extension or contract. Our pass rushers would be lethal.
It's going to be the one knock on Will McClay's entire career. Like, all these great draft picks, remember Taco?
Him and Bobby Carpenter.
We could have had literally 2 elite pass rushers on the same team for decades on this roster.
Yeah, it still bothers me. It still bothers me. But we got about 5 minutes left of the show here. So there's a couple non-football things I want to talk about. Nick, I have no idea if you watch college basketball or UFC or any of that. So I'm just going to throw it out here to bat around. If opinions are to be made, let's talk about Jon Jones. And is he the best that ever did it? Either of you, feel free to chime in, and I'll chime in after.
You want to go first? I don't know. I only know about a little bit of UFC, so you go ahead.
Well, I'm a big UFC guy. I've been watching mixed martial arts for a very long time, and you know, I know Coach is a big kickboxer, enjoys that with the kids and coaching and things like that. But I remember when Jon Jones first came into the league, he would, very lanky, surprisingly as skilled as he is on his feet. Not a real huge power puncher, but his creativity on the ground on his stand up, he's actually grown quite a bit. But his bread and butter, has always been his wrestling. And coming into the UFC, his wrestling, he's always been one of the best wrestlers by far. And so watching him come in here to the heavyweight, I was a little worried about him because I was thinking he might want to do a little stand up. Because here towards the end of his career, he's been doing more stand up. And again, it's not that he can't fight standing up. It's just he's such a dominant wrestler, that I think he can out wrestle anybody. And so him coming in there and basically taking him down like within 2 minutes and choking him out and guillotine choke, I think it just solidified his place, within history to say he is the best of the best. If we had time to sit here and get into, your top 5 or whatever, of course I got GSP up there and Anderson Silva, but I'd probably have Jon Jones there at the top at this moment right now.
Yeah, I think if you went pound for pound, I mean Anderson Silva has to be up there. GSP and him. I think that's your top 3. And if you want to rank them in some sort of way, Silva lost some of his shine because he fought too long. He was past his prime, kind of like a Muhammad Ali situation. He just wasn't the same fighter anymore. If you took like in their prime, kind of like how we talk about Mike Tyson with boxers. If you talk about like in their prime fighters, who was the best pound for pound fighter? I don't know that anybody was better than Anderson Silva. He kind of reinvented the sport, with the straight head kicks and things like that he did. Like the striking he did in the sport was unheard of before him. And now everybody kicks to the head, it's just something that he changed the way the sport is played. I don't know that I put Jon Jones ahead of him if we're talking about prime fighters. If the two fought tomorrow, like Jon Jones is a big dude. He's going to take him out, and he's way better on the mat than Anderson Silva could have ever dreamed of being. Now, at the same time, Anderson Silva is 100 times the striker that Jon Jones ever was. So you take it, you leave it. It's MMA. Everybody has their own style. Any way you want to rank those 3, I'm okay with. Anderson Silva is probably always going to be my best pound for pound guy over Jon Jones, and that's not a huge disrespect to Jon Jones. Like I don't think if you asked him,
no,
we ranked you second to Anderson Silva, he'd probably be okay with that. Nick, what do you think, man? You got any opinions on UFC, on Jon Jones, on any of this? I know you said you weren't a big UFC guy, but I don't want to not give you a chance to voice your piece here.
I know who Jon Jones is. I think his nickname was Spider, or is that somebody else?
That's Silva.
Spider?
Anderson Silva was the Spider.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I know who Jon Jones is. I've seen a little bit of highlights, and he's pretty good UFC fighter. Yeah, Bones. But my favorite UFC fighter when he was UFC fighting was Conor McGregor, because that dude was a badass son of a bitch. And I also like Iceman, but he don't UFC fight anymore either. So Jon Jones is, to me, is one of the greatest UFC fighters. So I agree with you guys. I would put him in the top 3. But you can't, even if you don't, I would still put Conor McGregor as one of the top 3 top UFC fighters. Even if you want to put Ron,
I'll give you my opinion on Conor McGregor, Nick. Is he one of the best to ever do it? I mean, it depends. Top 20, if you went top 20, top 25, maybe. Is he the best fighter at promoting himself of all time? Yes, 100%. You can't argue it. He is the best at promoting himself that's ever been and probably ever will be. Is he the greatest fighter of all time? He was very good. He was very good in his prime. the best. I don't know. What do you think, Rev?
I tell you, I think where we kind of maybe because when McGregor fell off, he kind of fell off pretty hard, and so
That happens to
when
a
he
lot of
was
UFC
when he
fighters,
was
though,
in
Rev.
his
It's not unique to Conor McGregor. A lot of them hit a wall and completely fall off. It's not
right,
unique. Silva did it too, just at an
right,
older age. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I don't know if the money changed him or if that situation changed him. All I know that is this is when he was in his prime, when he was the first ever to get 2 belts right there.
Mm-hmm.
That was super impressive. And I would almost tell you that Conor McGregor's stand-up game is one of the best. I will probably argue that he is stand-up wise easily a top 10 all-time fighter. The problem is his ground game is pretty bad.
He lost to
He's
grapplers
gotten
the whole
better at
second half of his
his
career.
take. Yeah, as soon as he was, and this is what's so weird because he's such a marketing guy, like he knows how to sell himself, and it's like, why don't you just do a whole Mayweather thing and just pick on whoever you want to fight, and that way you can win all of them. Because if you just stand up the whole time, I got a good bet on you if you want to stand up with McGregor because he's just a fantastic striker as a southpaw. But the moment that you get him on the ground, it's almost it's a totally different game here. And so, but entertain, one of the best entertainers. He's got to be up there as far as one of the best entertainers of all time. But I would not put him McGregor probably. He'd be close to top 10, but I don't think I'd put him top 10 all time. But stand up string, oh, absolutely, I would put him top 10 easily. So, but I like him. It's hard not to like the guy.
Okay, now I know that not male fighters, but to me, are we gonna? I think Ronda Rousey is one of the best UFC fighters. So if we want to put top five UFC fighters, you might as well put Ronda Rousey out there. She was good on the ground and standing up.
Yeah, I
Ronda
think she's
Rousey was
exactly the same as we were just saying. And backs up my point that a lot of UFC fighters hit the wall and just fall off completely. It's much harder, I think, in UFC than in boxing. It happens to fighters in boxing like Tyson, like Ali, like Lennox Lewis too. I mean, just mentioning recent great fighters. In boxing it kind of gradually happens. In UFC, I think it's like an instantaneous. They hit the wall, they drop off, and it's a complete hit the bottom and it's over. Like their careers not over, but they're not gonna fight world class fighters anymore and win. And Ronda Rousey was the same. She everything I said about Anderson Silva about inventing the sport, she did for women's UFC. Like she put women's UFC on the map.
She was literally the first female UFC fighter that got inducted to the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
That's how badass she is, and she literally went to a fake sport into WWE, and she still looks like a badass even when she's fake fighting. But Ronda Rousey is literally one of the greatest UFC fighters out there. If you ever want to talk about top 5 wide receivers and males, but she belongs in that same exact territory in that class as one of the best UFC fighters out there.
Rev, how long do you think you could survive in an octagon with Ronda Rousey?
She'd kick my butt, bro. There's no doubt. But I got a probably a little bit different opinion on Ronda Rousey. But I don't know if we have time for that on the show. Maybe we'll.
We're here now. Well, let's hear it, Rev. You threw it out there. We got to hear it now.
Well, my only issue with Ronda Rousey is, her judo is fantastic, and her ability to dominate that sport with women's sport fighting was really good. My only concern and my question maybe would be is in a sport where maybe your competition is deep concerning women fighters. She rightfully dominated that situation, but once the sport became a little bit more popular, she kind of fell off as well. Of that
Is she
reign.
A reason though for that?
And
I think she's the reason for that. There were a few others,
and that's why I would never say that she's not, you know, the greatest woman fighter of all time. I would probably agree that she is. You know, my only thing with that is there wasn't a whole lot of competition for her during that area that she came in, but she put it all on the map. It's almost like in the sense where you got Wilt Chamberlain, you know, in an era where he's getting 100 points, but the guys that he's playing against, you know, aren't very, very good, you know. So
we're ranking best women of all
one
time,
of those
Cyborg as the best female fighter of all time, and it's not close. Like she's in her prime, she would have spanked Ronda Rousey easily. Like
I would have loved to seen them two fight.
I'm still sticking with Ronda Rousey. I'm still sticking with her. Like,
yeah.
I would still take her. You get because I think when Cyborg fought her, she was Ronda Rousey was already getting close to hitting the door and leaving the UFC fight. She didn't have nothing left in the tank. So if you get young version Ronda Rousey versus Cyborg, it's over. Ronda Rousey's winning.
I don't know if they ever fought. Did they ever fight?
I think they did.
I'm looking for it. I don't see
I remember
it.
Yeah. I don't think they ever fought, Nick.
Oh, my bad. I don't do a lot of research on my things, but either way, I still think Ronda Rousey would probably beat Cyborg. Give prime Ronda Rousey.
You know, I'm looking at it here, and I didn't know this, but Cyborg started out as a Muay Thai fighter, just as a Muay Thai guy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
All right, one last thing, guys. One last thing. I'm happy we got to talk some UFC because I like talking UFC. I've always been a boxing guy over UFC. So like, if you ever want to talk boxing, that's really what my forte is. As I've gotten into kickboxing more, it's strange to me because, like, you know, I walked into my first day coaching football and knew a ton about football, right? As a player, as a lifelong fan, knew a ton. I walk into kickboxing, Muay Thai, I know nothing. I don't know how to throw a kick. Like, I can kind of throw some punches. I might know a combination that I heard in a bar while I was drunk 20 years ago. Like, nothing. So it's outside of my comfort zone and a good time. If you guys ever, you know, you want to jump into something like that, it's a great time. But to get off fighting, before we go, give me, and Nick, I don't know if you follow college basketball. I want to hear a couple teams to watch in the tournament. Next Friday, I'm sure we're going to talk some college basketball. Nick, do you watch college basketball at all? You got any teams out there? He might be frozen.
I think my thing froze.
Oh, we can hear you, though. We can hear you. We'll go to Rev. We'll come back to you, Nick. Rev, a couple college basketball teams. And don't give me Miami. Didn't they just lose to Duke?
Yeah, but their big man got hurt in that game, so he got hurt early, or that might have been a little different. Let's see. I think Houston's going to make a run this year for March Madness, and again, Coach, just for fun, we could probably do a little bracket or whatever.
Absolutely.
If you wanted to, just for fun, that we can throw on the Discord, but yeah, I think Houston's going to make a pretty decent run, and I tell you, you know, Alabama's pretty surprising.
Yeah.
You know, 28 wins right there. Maybe, just maybe, depending on how they do the brackets, maybe we'll have a little Alabama Miami. I wouldn't mind having that right there. You know, so we'll see. I've seen Miami as high as a 4th seed. You know, I'm not sure if they're going to bump them down with this Duke loss or not, but I'd be kind of surprised if they do, but, you know, I'm not sure where they're going to have Alabama concerning there. But I'd probably throw out Houston as one of those teams that, you know, might surprise people this year in this draft. I'd have to do a little more homework on it.
Are we back, Nick?
You watch basketball, Nick?
I don't really watch a lot of basketball. I've been trying to learn about basketball. My dad watches more college basketball than me, so I don't know nothing about the bracket and all that. I've always been stuck with football because football's always been my thing.
How's Florida State this year? I have not heard a word. You're an ACC guy, Rev. Is Florida State any good this year?
No, they're horrible.
No.
They're horrible.
Oh man, I tell you,
Yeah.
I've watched a good bit of Alabama's basketball this year, and I think they'll get a 1 seed. I think the only thing keeping them from it was if they embarrass themselves in the tournament, and they're in the final. So I think that's even if they lose the final, they're all right. I think they probably get a 1 seed. If they didn't, they're just frustrating because they'll play great and beat all these good teams, and then they'll play a bad team and they'll just absolutely get demolished. Not just lose to them, like they'll get blown out by a bad team. And then they'll show up and they'll play a Tennessee and they'll blow Tennessee out. Like I don't know. They just don't make any sense to me. Hopefully it's a mind thing, and that when they go into the tournament, every team is a good team, and they don't show up in the first round and be like, oh, Tennessee Tech, they can't beat us, or Middle Tennessee, and they show up and get beat by them. That's my worry, is that they don't show up for one of these early rounds and they get knocked out, because they've shown a tendency to do that this year. I will say that I'm happy that Oates is not headed to Texas, because it's the first time that Alabama basketball has been relevant in my entire life. So, yeah.
Well, let me remind you, Coach, that Miami made it to the Elite Eight last year. And so they got a little bit of experience coming in. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to this tournament with them for sure. And I'll be rooting for Alabama this year. I'm really, really happy to see that, because it's been a long time since Alabama's, been pretty good in college basketball. It's been quite a few years. And I mean, again, never seen them this good. And so this is exciting to see it. So
yeah,
we'll definitely have to get into it, guys. Have
next
some
Friday,
fun.
I think it's going to be topic number 1.
Right.
I got free agency starting, though, so we'll still have some NFL to talk about next week. Nick, I appreciate you being here, man. I know we've kept you a little longer than we intended to. Anything you want to leave us off on, man? I know we didn't really give you a chance to talk about yourself, Eddie. We were so gung-ho on talking about quarterbacks for 45 minutes that we didn't give you a chance to say anything. I'm going to pop the link to your Twitter here in the chat. Anything you want to leave us off on? Anything you got to say about anything?
No, man, just go Cowboys all the way. Not really.
That's how we do it, Nick.
What do you think, Rev? Rev, you got anything to leave us off on?
We do it, Nick.
What'd you say?
Go Cowboys, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Nah, I appreciate you hanging out with us, Nick, and you keep on putting that content out there on Twitter, man. I enjoy your content. You got some good stuff that you throw out there. Seems like you get a pretty good following as well. And so you're more than welcome to pop in on the channel, and, make sure you stop by and say, hey, invite people, help us promote the channel if you don't mind. And we just want to talk Cowboys and get more people to, check us out, so we can just get growing a little bit more. But appreciate you taking time, friend, and hope things go well for you. And if you do plan to move to Tennessee, I hope that goes good for you as well, man.
Yeah, I'm hoping, bro. But yeah, it was great having talked to you guys. I hope I can do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been helping out my depression, so
good to hear.
Good deal, brother. Good deal.
All right, awesome. I'll see you guys later. Those of you guys watching this, no stream Tuesday. I'm out of town, and Toxic's out of town, so we'll be back next Friday with our next Preaching Sports. See you guys.